Alright guys, I splurged a little bit. No, I splurged a lot. Over $100 on retro games. Games that came out over 30 years ago. What am I thinking? I have my reasons, trust me. So I got 6 games for $120. $20 a game, which is well over my $10 limit I try and give myself when buying retro games. But these games are worth it, in my opinion. What I'm about to show you is one of the greatest game series on the Nintendo of all time. And I have my reasons for getting these games the way I did. I'll explain that later in the video. So what did I spend $120 on? The entire RockMan series. I got all 6 of the Mega Man games, except, I got the Famicom versions, so these are technically the RockMan series, but the series is English friendly, so I'm not missing out on anything except for maybe like the Mega Man story, but I wasn't playing these games for the story on the Nintendo to begin with. In the later X series, the story actually got in the way of the gameplay, and that was very annoying. But yeah, all 6 Mega Man games right here, and these were all games that I did want, and who wouldn't want these games? This series is amazing on the Nintendo. But I went with the Famicom versions because, like I said, it's English friendly. But also look at these cartridges. I love the Famicom cartridges and that they're different colors. And it makes sense that they are different colors because of how the gameplay is in the Mega Man games. And I'm sure all of us know how the Mega Man games are, but I need to explain what they are in this video anyway because, I need something to put in the video. So the first one we have is RockMan sporting this sweet blue cartridge. Much different than the art that we got here in the US. This was actually the first game in the Mega Man series that I played. Rented it from a game store and I tried to complete it all in one weekend and I could not because of the difficulty of the game. First Mega Man introduced a lot of gameplay features that would be continued throughout the entire series, such as being able to choose your stage at the beginning and each Robot Master containing a weapon that is a weakness to another Robot Master. And you have access to the other robot's weapons once you beat that boss. It's one of the reasons that makes these games so fun to play is finding out what weapon works best against which boss. The first game contains 6 Robot Masters with a few wily stages following. The mechanics of Mega Man in the first game were pretty basic. You jump and you shoot. The gameplay was tough but fair, with the first one being considered one of the more difficult ones in the original series. For instance, right away in Gutsman stage, you need to have your platforming skills at its max. These mechanical ledges that fall down every time they come to a part of the wire that's broken require some pretty precise timing. There's also one item that's a little bit out of the way unless you have the right weapons at the right stage, and that creates platforms to make some of these levels a little bit easier. And that's it, you beat the 6 Robot Masters, you move on to the Wily stages, and then you take on Dr. Wily. Then came Mega Man 2, or RockMan 2 as I have here, in the sweet red cartridge. There is actually one difference between Mega Man 2 and RockMan 2, and that is in the difficulty settings. In Mega Man, you have a choice of either normal or difficult. You don't have that choice in RockMan. You automatically get the difficult version. Mega Man 2 is considered to be the best in this series just because the stages seem more dynamic, better enemy placement, the music is awesome. They increased the Robot Masters up to 8, and they introduced the item systems, which were hovering platforms, a rocket, and a platform that scales up walls. Mega Man 2 also introduced E-Tanks, which allowed you to refill your life anytime you were low as long as you had an E-Tank on hand. Although there weren't a lot of changes to the gameplay between Mega Man 2 and 1, it seems like there was a lot of upgrades. The graphics, the level layouts, and the overall flow and feel of the stages just felt better in Mega Man 2. How can it get any better? Well, to some people, it didn't. Mega Man 2 is considered by many their favorite Mega Man game of all time. In my opinion, it's a great game, and it's really hard for me to judge one Mega Man game from another because gameplay-wise, they were all pretty much the same, just adding a little extra feature here or there. But Mega Man 2 or RockMan 2, definitely a big addition to my library. The next in this series is actually the only one I owned as a kid. We got Mega Man 3 or RockMan 3. Sporting this sweet green cart with some basic art, but still looks pretty cool. And as you can see there, we have a new addition to the series. Since Mega Man 3 was the only game in the series that I owned, I am very familiar with it. I can tell you how to get through the main 8 Robot Masters, no problem, all their weaknesses, all that fun stuff. Once you beat the 8 Robot Masters though, 4 new stages come up that are kind of remakes of the old stages that they encompass. And not only that, these stages have 2 bosses per level. And if you played the older games, you should recognize these bosses as the Mega Man 2 Robot Masters. But besides that, a huge gameplay feature was added to Mega Man 3 with his dog Rush. Now technically it's not a new feature because Rush just takes the place of the items for Mega Man 2, but he's so much cooler. He can let you reach higher ledges with his spring, help you over deep chasms with his Rush Jet, and let you maneuver more easily underwater with Rush Marine. Why I think Rush is actually better than the items for Mega Man 2, well, one, he's a dog, but it seems like some of these stages were actually created centered around using one of Rush's powers. It's parts like that that really make me enjoy Mega Man 3. A new mechanic in Mega Man 3 was the ability to slide. And once again, a lot of these stages were centered around this slide mechanic, making that ability very useful. Mega Man 3 also introduces Proto Man, who is actually Mega Man's older brother. And I guess this is a good time to kind of explain a little bit of the story of the Mega Man series. You got two scientists, Dr. Light, who is the good guy, and Dr. Wily, who is the bad guy. They both went to school together when they were younger, but Dr. Light surpassed Dr. Wily, and he's always been jealous of him since. Dr. Light started making these robot masters, his first one being Proto Man, prototype, and continued after that with Rock, who is Mega Man, or Rockman, and his sister Roll. Each of the robot masters you fight in these games is actually a robot of Dr. Light's that Dr. Wily has taken over and turned evil. Dr. Light sends Mega Man to each robot master to snap them out of it so they can continue doing their regular robot duties. After Mega Man 3 is where I start to get a little hazy on each game. Here we have Rockman 4 in a sweet orange cartridge, and you see a little guy down there. That little guy's name is Eddie, and usually halfway through the stage, he'll appear and give you a helpful item to help you keep going throughout the stage. Mega Man 4 was the Mega Man game that I rented a lot. I thought the Robot Masters were super cool with Skullman and Toadman. Skullman is one of my favorite Robot Masters just because of how cool he looks and how awesome his stage is. They did change up the story a little bit in Mega Man 4. Now that Dr. Wily is gone, there's a new villain, Dr. Cossack, and the Robot Masters you fight are actually his robots. The new change to Mega Man 4 was the ability to charge your shots. I used to use the charge shot all the time in every Mega Man game that I could. There was one drawback, the ear-piercing sound effect that you had to listen to whenever you would hold down the shoot button. The way I used to play Mega Man games was I would never let go of that button. So I got to hear that sound effect a lot. Once again, level layout is great. Not much changes with the series with number 4. And to a lot of people, that's when this series started going stale because there just wasn't a lot that you could add to them. And actually the description of 5 and 6 I'm going to give you is going to be fairly short because, again, what else can I add? All the games in the series kept the same tight gameplay, with the only differences mainly being the Robot Masters and maybe getting another helper. Next up we have Mega Man 5 or Rockman 5 here, and a different colored green or maybe a teal colored cartridge. I like this box art. You got Rush and you got Proto Man. Now Mega Man 5 was the last of the physical Mega Man games that I played. I didn't own it. I actually remember borrowing that from a neighbor. The same neighbor that traded me Killer Instinct over here. What did they add new to Mega Man 5? Well, apparently Proto Man turned bad, and now he sent a bunch of robots to attack the world, and he kidnapped Dr. Light. A new ally for Mega Man is introduced with Beat, a robotic bird. The addition of Beat was actually kind of cool because it added a new gameplay element to the game in collecting letters. Once you collect all the letters, you can get Beat to use as a weapon. These games started being released later in the Nintendo's lifespan, so the graphics are improved, the sound is improved, but the overall gameplay still hasn't changed. We got one left, Mega Man 6 or Rockman 6, sporting a yellow cartridge. I don't remember much at all about Mega Man 6 because this is the only game in the series I haven't actually played a physical version of. I had to emulate this one because by the time I got around to it, there was no way to get a physical copy unless you wanted to pay lots of money. I don't remember even one Robot Master from Mega Man 6. Not to say it's a bad game, it's probably very good, it's just by the time 6 came around, it wasn't doing much new to the series. It was getting very stale by that point. Not only that, it was released very late in the Nintendo's life cycle. I think the Super Nintendo was already out by the time 6 was released. And it is the first game of the series not published by Capcom. Nintendo of America actually published it because I guess Capcom didn't want to release it in the States initially. I do know that Rush doesn't play the same part as he did in previous Mega Man games, this time actually combining his powers with Mega Man. He basically becomes enhancements to Mega Man, being a jetpack and a powerful punch attack. You can call on Beat once again after collecting 4 circuit boards. And this time in Mega Man 60, stages aren't completely linear. You can actually choose which route you want to take to complete the stage, usually requiring one of those rush adapters. And the Mega Man series is so big that it still has games being released for it to this day. And I'm not talking about the spin-off games like the X series or the Battle Network. I mean the original Mega Man series. Mega Man 11 was just released 2 years ago on modern consoles and PC. Also, there is a wicked awesome remake of Mega Man 1 on the PSP. Not only is it one of the best Mega Man games, but it is probably one of my most favorite PSP games of all time. It is really good. Don't let the graphics push you away from this one. This is definitely worth a play if you are a Mega Man fan. Why did I choose to add these 6 games to my library besides the fact that they're amazing games? Well, yes, $120 is a lot to spend, especially on only 6 games. But let's take a look at their NES counterparts. That's right, the NES games are over twice as much if I wanted to add them to my library. And since the Famicom games are English friendly and they look so cool, I figured I would go that route. When you compare it to the NES games, it's really not a bad deal to get all 6 games for less than half the price. But that's still a pretty huge chunk of money to spend on old games. What did you think about my most recent pickup? Do you think these were a waste of money, or do you think that they're a good addition to the library? Do you think the cartridges look way better than the US versions? Because they kind of do. If you were into game collecting, would you pick them up as well? Let me know in the comments below. I really love hearing about your guys' experience with these games. So I hope you enjoyed the video. That's all I got for you guys. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is the part of the video where I thank those users who support the channel through YouTube memberships and Patreon. John Westby, Door, Rick67, Travis Morton, Geo, Jason Holbrooks, Mike Muniz, Sam Torres, Yaroslav Oruzov, James Burkhart, Andre G, Din Cardoso, Red Silvers, Craig Livesley, Lynn Mayer, James McEwen, Jeremy Mullins, Bob, and Batman.